You're listening to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans.
We just got to go out and express ourselves.
Fonte with a scooping header.
We just got to get the job done. I'm here to get the job done.
Подача, Остин! Все-таки забил!
It's infield to Mane, 25 yards out. Lovely ball for Bella. Onside, 1-0! Buffon shot! Oh my word!
He ran around the pitch like Bambi on ice. It was very, very embarrassing to watch.
And now, your host, Matt Markstone. Hello and welcome to episode 98 of the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans. My name is Matt Markstone. I'm the host of the show, and no matter where you are, no matter how you may be listening, whether this is your first time or you've been here before, thank you for making the show part of your day. I hope that you enjoy it. I'm sitting here just after 9 p.m. on Monday night, and I am violating my strict no drinking policy prior to the recording of the intro to the podcast. And I wish I could say it was in celebration of the victory at the weekend. That didn't happen. So maybe it's the fact that it was Manolo Gabbiadini's birthday, or the fact that the club celebrated its 133rd birthday since the release of the last episode. Maybe we could say it's any of those things. But the truth is, I'm not exactly sure, other than somebody wanted us to open a bottle of wine. We opened a bottle of wine. It's a nice bottle of wine. The bottle of wine did not get consumed. And I'm just doing my part to make sure it doesn't go to waste. Much like I hope your time doesn't get wasted with the show, which I don't think it will. Because this week I am joined by Dan James. And although the team is not necessarily on the best run of form, although we find ourselves in the relegation zone currently, with a tough run of fixtures coming up between now and January 2nd, play a bunch of members of the top six. We have to go away to some relegation rivals. It's all looking fairly bad for us, to be completely honest. And, then of course the Telegraph comes out and says that we won't be sacking Mark Hughes really because they are believing in him and willing to give him more time. So I don't know what's going to happen, but we will take a look and see. We'll get the thoughts of Dan James, who joins me this week. He is at the Dan James on Twitter and Instagram, and we'll talk about all of those things and the fact that he's been there for about 196 consecutive competitive Saints matches. That is an achievement. So he has seen it all. He's gone away. He's gone home. He has seen the performances. So he's got a lot of perspective to give us. And let's get it from him now. So once again, this is Dan James. You can find him at the Dan James on Twitter and Instagram. And I'll talk to you again at the end of the show after I finish this glass of wine. We'd like to welcome back to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, Dan James. You can find him on Twitter and Instagram at the Dan James. You can also find him at any Saints match, I think, anywhere, ever. Dan, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks, yourself.
Yeah, I know. I'm all right. All right. It's a nice sunny day. Been for a run. Covered more ground than Charlie Austin yesterday, I think. And I'm feeling all right.
Trying to still remember what it's like to win a game of football. But other than that, we're good.
We were talking before. It's one win all season.
Yep.
And what have you seen in the last year? About 4 wins? Something like that?
It's the point where it's just every game's a loss, really. I think we've won one this season. We beat Bournemouth. We beat Swansea. I can't really remember many other wins other than that. No,
it's not great. But it's nice to talk to you. And I don't know. I mean, you just gotten off work. Work is busy, I assume.
Yeah, busy day at work with it being the build up to Christmas. So yeah, it's nice to come and chat about football as opposed to stuff not being in stock. We here in the United States, we just had Thanksgiving on Thursday, and so that's now we have this big turnover for Christmas now. Yeah,
I don't understand. I guess it's never really crossed my mind how other countries deal with that because you don't have Thanksgiving to worry about to kind of break it up, and we were talking about Remembrance Day, and sometimes other like stores and stuff, they start gearing up after that. But that's like, for us, it's Veterans Day. That's early November. That's too long for me.
It's very, very early. Yeah, I mean, that's just sort of like the respect thing. That's when people, I guess, like companies would start decorating. You got Christmas stuff goes out in, like you say, October, even sometimes just September time. So it just seems to be getting earlier and earlier every year.
Yeah, there was Walmart had Christmas displays up in September, and I was not happy. I almost went like, let me talk to the manager because this is garbage, like, and I didn't, because I don't care that much.
Like when I was at school, like the thing that annoyed me the most, whenever you go to the shops, as soon as you finish school for the summer, you go into the shops, and the first thing you see is back to school. You think, I've only just finished.
Yeah, I don't think about this.
Everything's just too early. Stop.
I tweeted actually at Walmart. I didn't ask to speak to the manager, but I did tweet about Walmart at Walmart and got a response. And I was kind of shocked, and it took me a long time to formulate a response to their reply, but it didn't go anywhere. No free stuff, no free Christmas lights or anything.
No free stuff. Damn it.
Which is all right. But yeah, man, I mean, we were talking, you've been something, how many matches now is it? Because you go to every match for the past couple of years. So how many are you at now?
Yeah, so it's the Fulham one yesterday was my 196th one in a row. That's competitive games that keep getting pointed out to me. You weren't at this friendly. I was like, yeah, it's a friendly. It doesn't really count. But yeah, 196 competitive games in a row, home and away.
And so we were looking at the schedule. So you got United, Spurs, and then a glorious trip to Wales for your 200th, which is a big deal.
Yeah, and hopefully a winning one, because Cardiff are one of our rivals, and we are in desperate need of a win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean,
it's come to the point now that just doesn't sound right. Cardiff are a rival to us. It's a big game.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And yesterday was too, for a number of reasons. And
yep.
It just didn't quite.
Nope.
Quite get there.
Sort of been about that for most of the season. Like, do really good stuff in certain spells of a game, and then just do really stupid stuff and just mess it up completely. It's just frustrating more than anything.
Yeah, for sure. Before we talk about the game, like in America, I think I was talking to somebody the other day, and I think in America, because we've had some players go and play for Fulham, and it's got an American owner, or the guy that owns the Jaguars and all that stuff. Like I think the team is like built up a little bit here. Like people like the team. It would not have been, even though they were in the championship, the past couple of seasons, people choosing to support Fulham is not out of the question here in the States.
No.
I didn't realize how small, like I knew Craven Cottage was small, but I didn't realize how small it actually is.
We were discussing it yesterday, like, obviously there's quite a lot of teams in London. Like, if you're supporting Fulham, it's probably in the family sort of thing, or you're in the very local area. Because I mean, just down the road there's Chelsea. So, but yeah, it's a small club, but it's a nice club to go to. It's a good away day. That you normally have a good day out down there.
Yeah, bars and stuff, easy to get to, all that stuff.
Very, yeah. There's local areas, Putney. There's loads of pubs around there. They're all quite decent. The only thing is just the prices are ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I think there was one bar that we were in yesterday. It was more expensive to get the pint in the bar than it was the ground, and that's pretty rare.
Yeah, that's not okay. Is that just because it's London? Is that just it?
It's just London prices, yeah. Even like one of the barmaids said, "Yeah, that's London prices for you."
Yeah. I mean, because after the West Ham match last year, when I went, you came back to the bar. I think you were waiting for us because Freddie and I took our sweet ass time getting there. I apologize, but I mean I thought the prices there were decent, but I think that's just because of the location it was in London. It wasn't kind of downtown.
Yeah. No, yeah, you do. I mean, like, it's not completely across the board in London. You can find some decent bars with decent prices, but I think they just try and take advantage when and where they can, especially if there's loads of football fans who do want to drink.
Yeah. I mean, on a match day or on the ground, like that, that's kind of what happens. I mean, we just went to a World Series game and we paid $60 to park the car at the stadium.
Wow.
And there's no other choice. Like, you have no other choice. You have to pay it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And my dad was pretty upset. He's like, and I'm just like, nah, like, we're at the World Series. We're not going to turn around and drive away now because we're not going to, like, So you just got to do it sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I go back to that bar after, but I mean, aside from the beer, anything else? And the atmosphere okay inside the stadium?
So I thought yesterday, because obviously with the recent performances in general, even you could even say the last few years, the atmosphere towards the start of the game yesterday, for the first however many minutes until we conceded, was actually really good. Even when we were at 1-1, the atmosphere still wasn't terrible. People getting behind the team, lots of singing. As soon as we went 2-1 down, that's when people started getting angry.
Yeah. Well, and with some reason, some good reason.
Bad, but yeah.
I mean, watching yesterday, I think had we had that performance 2 years ago under Puel, maybe nobody cares, because that's a good attacking performance. We went out, we played a game of football, we lost a game of football. That happens. But this year, it's the same kind of mistakes that are happening over and over and over that I think people are starting to.
Seems to be a really repetitive theme of how we concede goals. It's almost predictable.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't even put it into words. It's you see something happen and you think, right, we're probably going to concede from this. And one of those was the goal when Sessegnon just did Cedric with ease.
Oh, man.
No, we're not talking about the game yet, but he did it with ease. And you think, they're probably going to score from this, and boom. It was a good finish, but it's just so annoying.
Yeah. I like watching good moves of football, good passages of play, just as long as they're not against us and not you could just see, it happening. As soon as he gets by Gabbiadini, you're just like, oh, Cedric's just not in the right position, and then here he goes. But I guess that's why other teams wanted him, because Sessegnon is pretty good. But let's I mentioned that you were at the bar when I was there, and I want to say thank you for that, because that meant a lot. That was cool. So thank you.
Good to meet you. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I have to do it again. I was joking.
Sometimes when we're winning games.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, looking at the lineup, I mean, we all knew Target was going to come in for Bertrand. No surprise there. The center back partnership, were you surprised that Hoot and Yoshida were? Yoshida was semi-late coming back, I think, because he's got a pretty far journey, a long journey.
Always.
But
massive trip back from I wasn't really surprised, to be honest. The only thing for me that is just quite frustrating is we didn't see him in the matchday squad at all was Bednarek. I mean, the guy's starting for Poland now regularly. He did really well in the World Cup for him. He's done okay whenever he's played. But he just doesn't seem to be getting a look in here. It's just quite strange.
No, and you wonder if he's going to wind up playing right back on Tuesday, that's what he's relegated to, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, he was good for us down the stretch last season, and
got an important goal against what we thought was an important goal against Chelsea, and then we messed that lead up. Cedric, I reckon, give Stevens a run at right back on Tuesday night. See how he does, because Stevens can play there, but that's just one position we're sort of lacking in still in terms of depth. Cedric's got no competition whatsoever.
Right. I mean, were you happy to see the kind of? I mean, it seemed like a little bit of a formation change instead of going two up top.
It was a 4-2-3-1, which we saw a lot of before. Under Puel, we saw it. Under Koeman, played it quite a lot. It's really good when you've got, Lemina and Højbjerg they've built up a really good partnership. But at first, like last season in particular, you could question whether they could play with each other.
Right.
But they have started to build up a pretty good relationship. They're both powerhouses. They both run, and they both tackle pretty well. So that was good. But then you've got the front three, and then Austin up front on his own just does not work. It really does not work. He's too isolated. Yesterday, I don't know how to describe his performance. Considering he came out all guns blazing after that Watford game with that passion, he didn't really show it yesterday, which was a shame.
Yeah. I had trouble finding him on the screen a lot. He wasn't involved.
Frustrating to watch.
Yeah, I was really happy to see Armstrong get in the squad. I thought he played really well for Scotland, and I was off last week for Thanksgiving break for us, and so I was able to kind of just put the games on replay and watch as guys played, and he really played a role in Scotland's victories, and he looked good. He looked up for it yesterday.
And that just comes from those few bits of confidence from those winning games. I mean, to be honest, he had a pretty good pre-season. He looked pretty good, but then obviously we changed we played 3-5-2 all the pre-season. First game, bang, we've changed it, and then he sort of lost his way. He's not really had much of a chance. I mean, there's been some games where he's just not been in the squad at all, which makes you wonder what's going on there. But he did play really well yesterday. He took both goals really well.
I almost like the first one a little better. Just because it's I guess the confidence to just kind of go like take it off the chest and control it, and then just kind of slot it home. That's I think a lot of people would have tried to hit it almost on the volley, on the half volley, and put it into the stands, and he just it was pretty smooth. I gotta say,
the second one for me. The way he strikes the ball is perfect.
Yeah,
no keeper was going to stop that.
No, watching on TV, when Cedric backheels the ball, Armstrong's not even on the screen.
No, yeah. I mean,
the
and the camera just struggles to keep up with the shot as well on one of the angles. It was a very good strike.
Yeah, and I think that about wraps up the highlights for yesterday. But I mean, we went into yesterday knowing we kind of needed a victory, and I mean, against the team that's bottom of the table, I don't know. I mean, we played. Was that our best attacking performance, I guess, of the season so far?
You could say so, maybe, but I would have said yesterday. There's been other games where we've created a lot more chances. Yesterday, obviously, 2 of them went in. There's not been many times that's happened, but our finishing is just not there at all. It's not been there for a few years. There's chances that are absolutely golden, which people would snap up with ease, but it's just not happening at the minute for one reason or another. But yeah, it was a good attacking performance in spells. There's still those stages where we get sort of halfway in their half and we sort of stop and not know what to do with it. But yeah, you could say it was a positive performance in that sense to a certain extent.
Yeah. Unfortunately, had we won a couple of games up until this point, and then maybe we eke out a couple of wins, whether it's 1-0 or 2-1 or whatever it is, and then we get to yesterday, we lose that game. Maybe the whole sentiment is different because we scored 2 goals, we played positively, all the stuff, we had a ton of possession, we looked dangerous. But because I think of where we are and the fact that we need points, and the fact that we lost to the team on the bottom of the table, it just doesn't fly anymore.
No, it's just, you don't want to lose a game anywhere. Particularly now, it's just that sort of game that you should be winning.
Yeah, particularly
of the club, like the way we are. We've not got a terrible squad. We've got some very good players. We should be winning games like that.
Yeah. I think one of the people that has come under the most criticism, and I think deservingly so, on the team is the fact that Wesley Hoot constantly starts. He's a guy that's been drawing a lot of criticism. What Mark Hughes keeps picking him over and over and over, and I've tried to figure it out, and I think I've just settled on the lazy excuse that he's left-footed and it's going to happen. I tried to put together some numbers on him earlier, and he seemed to this is a couple of weeks ago, and he was in a lot of statistics, like per 90 minutes, he was better than everybody else. But now we're talking in the last couple of games, he's been at fault for multiple goals. He's got an additional own goal to the time when I ran the stats. He gave that ball away yesterday for, I think it was
the one yesterday. It was their third goal.
Yes,
and he did give one away for one of the other ones as well, which was maybe a bit harsh on him because the player, I think it might have been Redmond, flicked it, or Austin flicked it on to no one. But the third goal, just get it out. It's inexcusable. I don't know what he's doing, what's going through his brain, messing around with it there. I mean, we did see him, I think it was just before the international break-up against Watford, he did a little roulette turn on the halfway line. That's brilliant. Do that there. But if you're in your defensive third, get rid of it. Don't mess around.
I mean, when he finally passes it directly to a Fulham player, it just had my memory flashed back to last year when Bertrand was racing to try to keep the ball in, at Everton, and he Yeah, but that's different because he's like sliding out of bounds almost and trying to clear it downfield, and he just doesn't get enough of it.
Yeah.
Whereas Hoot kind of like finally, after standing there for what seemed like a minute and a half, just decides to stand straight up and pass it directly to him. And I was like, no, what are you doing?
Worst contact on the ball possible. I don't know what he's trying to do. It literally just rolls into their players. It's crazy. But we can criticise Hoot all we want. I thought Yoshida struggled against Mitrovic yesterday. Mitrovic was very, very clever in terms of his presence, and he gave Yoshi quite a tricky afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mitrovic is the kind of striker that we would have seen last season that would have eaten us alive. You know,
yeah,
he's powerful, he is strong, and he's kind of dirty, man. He doesn't care if you can't get me, he'll kick you right back. You know, he's
not too nice. Yeah, I think. We have seen a few games like since Hughes came in, we've had a bit more bite to us. Mm-hmm. Maybe not so much recently, but there's certainly like we're too nice sometimes. Mitrovic is one of those players who he's aggressive, like you said. He'll put in a challenge. If you challenge him, he'll give you a kick back, sort of like the old-fashioned style striker. But yeah, Fulham have got themselves a good one there.
Like coming from America, I kind of look at Eastern Europe and go like, yeah, that fits, you know, like that's about what I would expect from somebody down there. They just seem like they're a little bit harder than everybody else. And he's not afraid to say, come on, like bring it. And there was a couple times yesterday where Yoshida tried to, I have it in the notes even, where he made a bad challenge. He stepped and Mitrovic got him to bite, and he was able to kind of flick it on past him, and it was just like, oh no, you know, that was one of those times where I thought they were going to score. But then we saw Lamina kind of busting back to make sure that didn't happen, which playing in that system with him and Højbjerg, that's what he has to do to be able to prevent that from happening. So I thought midfield played well for the most part, and our defense was just kind of shambolic at a lot of points.
It's tricky to say, really, is it all on the back line? Is it the cover from midfield? Is it that the wingers don't track back? Because I remember, I think it was one of the goals or one of Fulham's big chances. The ball's played out to the left, and Gabbiadini's trying to cover the left back, but the left back's just gone. So we can argue that the defence, they're not great, but they do need, in particularly in today's game where you've got fullbacks that bomb on, midfielders that bomb on, everyone has to defend. Yeah. As a group, and it's not happening.
Yeah. One thing we didn't mention was Højbjerg was captain yesterday, and
when I saw the lineup, saw Højbjerg was captain, I was thinking, nice, because after we've had a few heavy defeats, he seems to be the only one who wants to come out, step up, and he really does say it how he is. And if you watch him when he's playing, I don't know if you can pick it up on camera, but particularly in the ground, if you watch him. He's constantly geeing people on, motivating, giving out instructions. So it was good to see him have the armband and sort of almost as a reward for his commitment and efforts in the last few weeks and few months, really. He's probably been one of the standout players. Obviously, he did have that moment when he dived and got sent off, but I thought since he's come back from that, he's really stepped up and he's been really committed, which is good to see.
Yeah, I thought that might have been, when he did that, I thought that was going to be Hughes saying we're going to see Stephen Davis in there again for at least a couple of weeks, but it didn't happen. He put him right back in as soon as he could, and you can't argue that him and he's been one of our best players. And I think Lamina is winning some of the doubters over at this point.
Yeah, the problem with Lamina is he's a great player on his day. He's just when he's not on his day, he's not on his day, and it doesn't go too well. There was the West Ham defeat last year, which you were at. It was I think he gave it away from a corner, didn't he? And they went on and scored. Yeah, that was great.
And that was in front of us, and they scored in front of us, and I think it was Arnautovic again, and that's another guy that I could do without seeing him happy very often. Although he's in my fantasy team and didn't do anything yesterday, so thanks a lot. But
against Man City, you can't expect too much from the man.
No, I was just hoping he would get a goal. Like even if they get slaughtered, just get a goal, but he didn't. So. Whatever. I did have. It doesn't matter. It's fantasy. And it's only doing slightly better than us in real life. So, I mean, I don't know. Like I was really expecting us after we scored. Like Fulham came to life after that. That seemed to wake them up. And given that they have just sacked their manager and Ranieri is coming in, there's always going to be a little bit of life there, and people want to impress a new manager and all that stuff. But he didn't tinker with the lineup all that much. He kind of sent him out as they've been going. And
I don't know in terms of the goalkeeper situation whether Sergio Rico's played that much, because obviously Marcus Bettinelli's been recently called up for England. I don't know if he's been playing every game for them or they've been rotating, but I thought the goalkeeper yesterday, Rico, he did very well. He pulled off a few good saves. I thought as well, I haven't watched much of Fulham this year. All I know is that they've been leaking goals, but Callum Chambers sort of, sometimes he was in defence, sometimes he was in midfield, sometimes he was screening the back four, but he was there winning a lot of headers, a lot of interceptions in that sort of area, and I was quite impressed with that.
Yeah, when I saw that he was playing midfield as like a kind of a deep line midfielder, I didn't think he had the pace to be able to keep up with Armstrong when it's not kind of not running in a straight line. Like if you're playing center back, the guy's going to run off of your shoulder and then it's kind of a straight line, whereas Armstrong is going to have this room to move kind of all around. And I thought maybe we could take advantage of that. But like you said, Chambers showed up in a lot of ways to really help them, I guess.
Potentially because he used to play for us. Quite a lot of our old players like to play well against us.
I don't know what that is. I was looking at Fulham's goals conceded, 33 so far. That is a ton. But
that's a lot of goals, yeah. But, I mean, again, to concede 2 to us yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it takes a little bit away from us scoring 2 because we did it against Fulham, which everybody seems to score 2 against Fulham. But that's all right. I mean, at halftime, how were you? I mean, we played semi well. We find ourselves down 2-1. I've typed curse words into the document here. But I mean, down 2-1. I felt like maybe that was a little bit unfair. Maybe we'd played better than them and we didn't deserve that. But I mean, it's no excuse. But what was the kind of discussion in the ground at halftime?
So without trying to sound too much like Mark Hughes, I thought we should have gone in at 2-2. Gabbiadini had a very, very good chance. I think it was at 0-0. The ball came out and he sort of just hit it straight at the goalkeeper. But yeah, you wouldn't have been too disappointed with what we did. It was just, again, the finishing wasn't great, but the feeling around the ground from going 1-0 up to then being 2-1 down at half time, it was, here we go again. You know, what's going to happen? That I think Hughes sent the team out early in the second half. They were out a few minutes before Fulham came out. But yeah, it's just sort of really deflating to go in 2-1 down when you've had the chances to potentially not be 2-1 down.
Even as we started the second half, Hughes didn't look pleased on the TV coverage. He looked actually super pissed, which I thought was appropriate based on how we wound up in the second half. And I mean, I'm trying to not be, completely negative and say that, we did create chances. We did look menacing, but it's not enough to do that at this point. And I thought there was a point where we broke from a corner and the ball got out to Redmond really quickly. Nobody supported him, and that looked that looked more like we played most of the season, where we're expecting this moment of brilliance, and the moment of brilliance was Redmond got by the first 2 guys, and now we need somebody to help him.
And then he had no one to pass to,
yeah. And so I mean, it just that's frustrating. But then then we go level not long after that though. With the goal between Gabbiadini and Cedric, who did so poorly for Fulham's second goal defensively, combined to do this. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I said it before recording or during, but when Cedric backheeled that ball, Armstrong wasn't even in the picture, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Like I was yelling at the TV, and then all of a sudden, here comes Armstrong, smashes it in, and at that point, it was like, okay, can we just continue this? Can we just keep playing like that, where we look confident in Fulham? We're just chasing the ball, like that's all they were doing.
And that was the big thing. Is in that move we looked confident. Cedric, he did really well because he didn't win the first header, but he carried on and went for the second ball. That's something that we're really, really guilty of not doing, is winning second balls. So the little setup to Armstrong and then the strike was beautiful. But that little bit of confidence, you've got it, and we just don't build on it. It's really frustrating.
The third goal, when we go behind for the third goal,
Yep.
Did the air kind of just leave the building in the away end?
That's when people really did start getting annoyed, and I think, there were a lot of unhappy fans. Like, the support that was there in the first half, it didn't completely disappear, but people were more annoyed more than anything. I think at that point Austin was still strolling around the pitch.
Yeah.
Not really doing much.
And then I think I could hear boos when Armstrong was brought off.
See, there were boos, but I don't know if everyone saw, but he was stretching out his calf. So
right.
Whether he had a bit of cramp or he had a slight knock, I don't know. But to be fair, he ran himself to the ground. So if he wasn't able to carry on, he wasn't able to carry on. I thought it was interesting that he stuck Gabbiadini up front, considering a few weeks ago when he said he was best deployed on the wing. He brought Obafemi on late on. Give the kid a bit of confidence. Don't just give him 10 minutes. He's not going to really be able to do much in 10 minutes.
What did you make of his cameo yesterday? He looked, there were a couple of zoomed in shots from the TV coverage that he just looked a little bit like his eyes were super wide, and he was just like he had just missed that chance. It just went over the corner, and
he had a couple of chances, to be fair to him. But he got himself in those positions, and he must have had 2 more chances than Austin did all game.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, you can't. Is he 18?
Yeah, 18 or 19.
He's been banging in the goals for the under-23s this season. He put himself about yesterday. There's not really much he can do in 10 minutes.
No. He seems, to be honest, I haven't watched a ton of the under-23. Sometimes I listen to it, but when I'm listening to it, I'm not paying 100% attention because it's usually in the middle of my workday. But he seems like he does really well running by people,
running with the ball, running past people. Yeah, balls played in behind or into channels, and then that's where most of his goals seem to come from. And
that's not what we were going to be doing in the last 10 minutes yesterday.
No, definitely not. Fulham was sitting back, dropping deep, and we were sort of pressuring on. So that wasn't necessarily his strong point.
But like you said, he did put himself out. There was that one where he got a shot away, got blocked or saved, and then the ball went up in the air, and he went up and challenged for it. And the goalkeeper went down after.
Keeper fell to the floor, and then one of their players came in and pushed him.
Yeah. And he didn't.
He got a booking for that.
Yeah,
when he got pushed.
Yeah, but he wasn't like, he got pushed. He didn't put his head down and run away, and he didn't like blow up either. But it was like the kind of the appropriate response, where it's just like, look, like, you're not gonna,
hold on a minute, what are you doing?
Yeah,
you're not going to bully me.
Right. And I appreciate that. I think that for a 19-year-old kid, I would expect one of the other two extreme options, so I was pretty happy with that. But we talk about some of the chances that we had. Everybody was going forward. He had a couple of chances. Elianusi had a couple of chances. Hoiberg got a couple of chances. We just couldn't get it in.
The final touch just isn't there. No.
And that's basically how it ended. It was just that we could have all the chances in the world, but unless we have somebody that can finish, and whether Ings, if he was healthy, could have done it, who knows? But
we can't just rely on Ings.
No,
it's not what we can do. When we look at the seasons where we have done well, it's more than one person chipping in with goals, and at the minute, no one is really. Again, it frustrates me that Hughes can come out and say that we've outdone Fulham in every area. We haven't. We didn't win the game. That's as simple as that. Saints fans, we've learnt the cruel way that a performance doesn't win you a game. I always go back to it. I'm still bitter about it. Was the EFL Cup final against Manchester United. I thought we were really, really good that day. But performances don't always get you a win. You've got to do the stuff that gets you a win. You've got to do the simple stuff right. You've got to defend well, and you've got to take the chances that you have. And we don't do that at the minute.
And I don't know. We have a lot of questions here about, what needs to happen. And it's one of those things where we definitely have issues, but we've had issues. You can see the issues coming. The squad is still somewhat expensive. It's still the 10th most expensive squad.
It's not a terrible squad in the slightest. There's lots of good players in there.
I was looking at the squad values, and I haven't gone and done the whole thing like I did last year, but we're the 10th most expensive. Fulham is the 11th most expensive. And most of that, I think, comes from those attacking players they bought.
Yeah.
The beginning of this year. But then, you look at the table from 15th down to 20th, and it's us at 10th. It's Fulham at 11th. Cardiff are 20th most expensive. Huddersfield are 19th most expensive. Burnley are 15th most expensive, and then Palace are 12th. So like you look at Crystal Palace, Southampton, and Fulham, and you would say like those are the three teams that are really, granted, I don't think Fulham spent in the right areas, obviously, with the number of goals they're conceding, but you would look at Southampton and Crystal Palace and go like, you should be doing much better than this. Yeah. And when I look at that, if we were sitting at even 13th or 14th, I think I would be much happier. Not just because we're out of the relegation zone, because okay, like that's kind of the squad we have right now, and that's okay because that's just kind of how it goes. And the owner's been pretty upfront with the fact that he's not going to dump in a bunch of money, and that's his prerogative, and we don't have to be happy about it. But if we were just achieving kind of around that area, I think I'd be a little more lenient with how I feel about the squad and how I feel about the manager. And I'm pretty slow to call for a manager's job, and I'm still not sure that I want to say that he's got to go right now, but that's definitely a question that needs answering, I think.
It's a really difficult one. When you look at, obviously, like you said, the money spent on the squad is not a terrible squad. You say that Burnley's one of the lowest in value in terms of money spent, and how well they did last season. They've dropped off a bit this season, but they're still not doing terribly. It is all about the manager getting the best out of the players that he's got. And at the minute, our manager is not getting the best out of the players he's got. Simple as that. So it's that.
Sorry, even when you look at the values, it's, we're sitting at about £240 million as a squad value, and Crystal Palace, who is just two places below us, is under 200 million. They're at 197. So like our squad is not like, there's a huge drop between like us at 10th and even 12th and 13th and 14th in that table. It's a big difference. We're closer to the teams ahead of us, Leicester City, that stuff, than we are to the teams that are sitting just a place or two below us.
Yeah. So you can easily, the owner can turn around and say, why would I throw money at a squad that's already had a lot of money spent on it if it's not working? And for me, obviously the new guy he's not a football man, but I don't think it takes anyone too much brain power to realise that the manager's not getting the best out of the team. So whether you give the manager more resources in terms of more coaching, more backup staff, or you just change him completely, it's that's the decision they need to make, and they do need to make it soon, because last year they waited way too long. We scraped it by the skin of our teeth. I don't want that again this season.
No. I think we were lucky. We're definitely lucky.
Oh, so lucky. I mean, especially after that Everton, the last minute goal up there, I thought, you know what, that could be us. But fortunately it wasn't. But yeah, skin of our teeth stuff. It's not where we should be.
No. So we have questions, but we also have an EFL Cup match against Leicester City that was postponed because of the crash that the owner was involved in and all that stuff. And you're going to that, I assume?
Yeah. Managed to get it off work that evening. Yeah. I know there's in terms of numbers, there's quite a lot of people who obviously took time off work for the first game, but obviously unfortunately it was cancelled and now can't go. So I don't know how many people are going up. But yeah, I'll be there.
Kind of a shift in mood, maybe. But what are you expecting in terms of atmosphere there for that game? Given it's midweek and it's been rescheduled and with the stuff that they've had, do you expect their crowd to be kind of behind them, or you expect it to be kind of maybe empty?
I expect them, whatever crowd it is, small or big for them, they'll be behind them because obviously I think it's only their second home game since obviously the accident. So that's really brought that. It's such a horrible shame that sort of thing's brought the club together even more. Mm-hmm. But I'd imagine they'll be right behind their team, and we're not doing too well against Leicester at the minute in our last few outings. So I don't think we do well at Leicester. Full stop. Can't remember seeing a win there myself. In terms of me going.
Well, I looked at some of the numbers since 1994 because they weren't in the Premier League before that. Or we didn't play them in the Premier League before that. So going away to Leicester, 9 losses, 5 wins, or 5 draws, 3 wins since that time. Pretty even record.
Not a happy hunting ground. Yeah.
No, pretty even record overall. But the good news is in 06 and 08, we played them in a cup competition and we won both matches. So, I think we're a different team now. And so were they. So I'm not sure how much that bears out, but that just looking at that was one of the things that, I figured, hey, we'll take a look and see, but it's, I can't really see a ton of good coming from that game for us. Probably a lot of changes, and then knowing that you have to go play City after that. Manchester City. That's probably not the biggest.
Not the most exciting tie to have to play afterwards, is it? So yeah, I mean, whatever happens, it's a game that's not going to really affect us too much in terms of the league. It would be nice to get a bit of confidence from it. So it's a competition that we've obviously we've progressed in each time. So far this season, we've beaten 2 Premier League teams so far this season. So it's not too bad, but yeah, I don't know what to expect really.
Yeah, other than I think probably a lot of changes. I think we're going to definitely make.
Yeah, I think we'll probably see Angus Gunn play again. Whenever he's come in the cup games, he's done okay. We might see Bednarek, we might see Stevens. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Target again. Maybe even some like the more fringe players. Maybe Ramaiah's disappeared. Is he going to play on Tuesday?
Right.
But again, we thought that he may change a lot against Everton, but he did play a few of the first team players, which sort of mixed in. It wasn't too much of a change compared to Brighton, where he just changed every single player bar one from the previous league game. So
right.
Who knows what's going to happen?
It'll be interesting to see if Gabbiadini's been given 2 games now out on the right. It means that Elyounoussi not had. I hate my dog so much. It means that Elyounoussi has kind of lost his spot a little bit. And watching his games over the international break, he seemed like he was really pressing to do something. Like he was really,
which is really frustrating that your players are doing so well on international duty. Obviously, again, they're playing for their country, so it's slightly different. They've got that little bit of extra incentive. But if they're playing so well for their countries, and then they're coming back to the club and they're not doing so well, that's where we need to find the answers of what's going wrong.
Right. I agree with you there. And I know he's had a little bit of an injury, so I don't know if he'll start, because it could be dangerous just to him in the long run. But it'll be interesting to see. And then, I mean, Højbjerg and Lemina were both on international duty. They came back. They played right away. Do you play them again midweek, knowing that you have to play another game? Can it be more?
I'd save at least one of them for the Man. I wouldn't play both of them.
Yeah.
You want at least one of them fully fit, raring to go for the Man United game at the weekend. So you might even see 2 of them not play. Be interesting to see if Davis gets a game, like I said before, Ramaiah, even Ward-Prowse. There's so many players that aren't getting the game time at the minute. That could potentially get some game time.
I mean, and then who do you start up top? Do you go with Obafemi? I mean, is that where he gets his first start for the club?
Tricky one, but why not in a game that's not going to really affect you too much in terms of league standings? But then again, I don't know what the targets are from the club in terms of how far they want to get in the competition. If you win it, you get a European place, but I think we'd be embarrassed in Europe at the rate we're going. So yeah, I don't know. I'd give him a chance, give him a shot, see what he can do.
Well, like you said earlier, that's a good chance for him to maybe build some confidence.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it'd be good. And we do have some questions to kind of go over. Stephanie Mariucci from Instagram says, "Where's Ramaiah?" Because he has, like you said, disappeared. Am I right in saying that he wasn't even in the squad yesterday?
He wasn't in the squad. No, he was out walking his dogs the other day. He put on his Instagram, but yeah, I don't know. It's just he was pretty solid for us last season. Probably one of the better performers. But yeah, just sort of really gone out of favour this season.
And is it just, I guess, the style of football? Was it the fact that we switched to a 4-4-2 where it didn't really fit him?
I'm not really sure, because like the formation at the minute, it seems to be whatever he deploys is different every game. He's not really, even though he's picking players consistently, the system isn't consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't really know.
All right.
Answers on a postcard.
Leighton 8240 says, "Why are we so trash?" And I just think there are a lot of reasons. I wish I had a coherent answer for that.
How long have you got?
Yeah, we got a lot of beer. We got to make sure we don't go to that place in London where they're more expensive than in the ground, if we're going to talk about that one. Aidan Osman, who's been on the show before, and asked, realistically, how do you see the club moving forward? And from my perspective, at least, I'm not sure we're going to get rid of Hughes right now, because the football, you look at the leadership of the club right now, the football minds kind of aren't there. You got a guy who's familiar with hockey and marketing and doing all of his other stuff, more so than I think a deep understanding of football and what we would be looking for.
I'm going to jump to Ralph's defense on this one. I met Ralph a few times through doing some charity stuff with the foundation. The guy is, he's a really nice guy. He's nothing. He says it in everything he does. He's pretty much nothing to do with the football side of it. If you look at the way the club is commercially now, it's probably in a really one of the strongest positions it's been, and that's down to him. So well done to Ralph on that one. But like you said, there's not really anyone, since obviously Reid was dismissed. There isn't that director of football to bring in another manager. But we say that the magical black box is, so say, always on the checkout for anyone who's coming in, whether it be a manager, whether it be a player. So you'd think that they'd be able to use that still, because obviously you've got Ross Wilson, who's the recruitment manager. So there's always those options there.
And I guess one of the things that I would think is it would just, when that kind of director of football or whatever it is appointed, that maybe then the search for the right head coach moving forward is there.
It needs to happen soon, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can't just be like, oh yeah, we haven't got a director of football yet, so we're just going to leave things how they are.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a surefire way to get relegated.
We are. There's no other way of saying it. If we stay as we are, we're going down. No questions, no excuses. We will go down.
Saint Foo Fighter, who is at Saint Foo Fighter on Twitter, says, "What's Sparky's obsession with playing a Hoot? I just don't understand why you'd play him over Jan or Yannick or Jack. Hoot makes mistake after mistake. There's no logic to picking him. Also, why has Armstrong been overlooked for most of the season?" I think we touched on a couple of these things, and I also heard, I'm not exactly sure where, that Hughes doesn't spend a lot of time really working with the defense. That there isn't maybe a lot of coaching going on with that, and I'm not sure how true that is. That is something that I heard, and I want to say it was maybe on the Saints FC podcast. I'm not sure where the information came from, but before that, but like
there's a weird little routine that the two centre halves every game, whichever centre half it is, they, with one of Hughes' assistants, they do this weird little drill where they're moving. One's attacking the ball unopposed, the other one's dropping, one's recovering, doing a recovery. It's the weirdest thing I've seen, and I just don't know how it works. But in terms of playing Hoyt, the only person with the answer to that is Hughes. Particularly I said earlier in the podcast, I think Jan Bednarek's, he's consistently playing for Poland, even when he's not playing for us. And he seems to do a good job for them. Vestergaard, the man's an absolute monster. He's massive, but his ability in the air was questionable. And Jack Stevens will put in a shift for you. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. With regards to Armstrong, again, whenever he's played, he's not been terrible. There's been a few games when he sort of got lost, but if you're not playing week in, week out, you're going to get lost when you're in a new league. Mm-hmm. But particularly since Reed went, I don't know if there's anything in it. But Hughes, he's made a few changes. Was Reed having an input in who was being picked? That's a question that you could potentially ask, but obviously we won't know that. Right. So yeah, it's an interesting one.
My initial reaction to that would be like, does Hughes look like the guy that you want to say, like, actually, you're not going to play these guys today? Because I think Hughes would just be like, are you kidding me? Like that. Yeah. Like there would be a fight, I would hope. Like, yeah. Granted, I'm sure there are clubs where that happens.
I'm not saying that did. I'm not saying that did happen, but it's something that could,
Yeah. It's at this point, it's all on the table.
Obafemi's been putting the goals in pretty much all season, the under-23s. Yet we're only just seeing him now in the last few weeks. Since Reed went. Is there anything in that? Who knows?
It's all worth exploring, and I'm sure after a couple of drinks and a few sleepless nights, I'll be down that rabbit hole. Well, we'll see. We have one more here from Football for One. It's at Football for One and then the number 1 on Twitter. And if you're unfamiliar, or if any of the listeners are unfamiliar, it is one guy who basically, after everybody goes to bed, he sits down and he talks football, and it's a different kind of outlook on things, which I find to be entertaining from time to time. So he asked, if not Hughes, then who? Is it O'Neill, Bruce, Moyes, Allardyce? Like, what is there to be done? Is it bad luck, or should we just kind of wait it out because 3 other teams will be worse? Realistically, do you see us appointing anybody that fans would be happy with at this point, or do you think we're kind of
seeing all sorts of rumours flying around today? Like, we haven't even, Hughes hasn't even been dismissed, but there's all sorts of names being thrown out there at the minute. One person who I do not want anywhere near the football club is Sam Allardyce. Mm-hmm. We've seen them, we've seen what he did. The man's a crook. He got sacked from England for that very reason, and he's just so anti-football. Saints fans aren't happy with the football at the minute. If you watch it under Allardyce, you'll be even more unhappy. Today we've been linked with Gary Monk. He's got James Beattie. Obviously, they both played for us as assistant. Doing okay with Birmingham in the Championship. But would that be then us setting up for the Championship? There's always been a little link with Rodgers. Would Rodgers come down here? Would we snipe from Celtic again? I think the Dortmund manager who got sacked last, is it Peter Bosz? He was at Ajax and he was at Dortmund. That's a name, bit of a wild card. Yeah. But I just think whoever it is, there's the dog. Whoever it is, I think the last 3 appointments in terms of charisma and motivation haven't been the best ones. They're all pretty sort of, they're not out there. The Koeman had something about him. Pochettino had something about him. They just need to have something, and they need to be able to motivate that group of players. Should we change it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And in terms of should we wait it out and see if there's other three teams worse than us? We drew against Newcastle, they'd be one of them. We've lost against Fulham, they'd be one of them. Huddersfield have just won today, they would be one of them. And Cardiff, which, if we don't beat Cardiff, I'm seriously worried.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out soon enough. This run of games that we have leading up to just after the new year.
Horrible.
It's unkind to say the least. And
we've not played Man United yet. We've not played Arsenal yet. We've not played Tottenham yet. 3 big teams. Our record against the top 6, maybe you can even extend it to the top 8, is woeful.
Yeah. And then throw in there 2 games, I think both of them away, that we kind of have to, those are the teams around us that we all of a sudden have to beat. And
yeah, Huddersfield and Cardiff, yeah.
And man, it's just not, it doesn't look very easy. It doesn't look look at all like it's going to be something. Yeah, to be completely honest, I'm not 100% confident.
There's not one game where you can pick out from the games coming up. You think, yeah, we're going to win that game.
Right.
It's just not there.
Well,
it's laughable now. I don't know how I'm doing it, but I'm laughing.
You have to. because
you have to, yeah.
Otherwise it's tears. Do you have anything else to say about the team or the upcoming schedule or any of that stuff?
Not really. Again, when you look at it, we've got Cardiff sold out. Obviously, Leicester won't sell out. There's a few games, so the fans are still travelling to these games. These players need to give more. I mean, yesterday, 4 of the players came over and thanked the fans after that. I think it was Stevens, Redmond. I can't remember the others, but not very many. Stevens didn't even play. Stevens came over from the sub bench, to thank the fans. It's just like, Bielsa did it at Leeds. He went out and all his sort of teammates, I think they went and did a litter pick for however many hours. And he said, this is what our fans do. They earn their money to come and watch us. We need to deliver for them. These players need to realise that, people are still paying money. We're still paying a lot of money to buy a ticket, to travel to all these games, and we're not winning them.
Yeah.
Like, that's the frustrations. And the players come out and they say, yeah, we're as angry as you are. Hold on a minute. I don't think you are. You're not, or you may be saying that, but you're not showing it when you're out there on the pitch. Not all of them, anyway.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, you're talking yesterday, just to get to London, you're talking the match day ticket, so £30, right?
£30, yeah.
Plus the plus the train 25, ticket, plus
25.
I mean, even if you do it, like, even if you packed a lunch, a brown bag lunch, you're still talking that's an extra £5 or so.
Yep.
And then you're getting to the ground, and you can't probably pack lunch and dinner because that just doesn't work. So now you're talking, another £10 or so. Like, you're looking, this is costing you close to £100 a match to go.
Yeah.
And you're seeing, I mean, yesterday, I think there were a lot of, like, Armstrong ran himself into the ground. Hoiberg and Lemina ran themselves into the ground. Like, yesterday there was some effort, but it's not consistent enough. Because I can't look at Charlie Austin and say, hey, he gave it all. I can't defend him on that. Like
you said, it's not consistent enough, and it's, for me, not as a collective. Don't think we've seen a game in ages where the whole team has worked together, has, every single one of them's run themselves into the ground. Can't pick out a game where that's happened.
And that should be the bare minimum. Like,
honestly. It should be the bare minimum. I'm seeing comments on Twitter, at least they're trying. 70 grand a week. They need to do more than try. It's crazy.
Yeah. You mentioned maybe could we get Rodgers to come down here from Celtic, and it just popped in my head. Like, the problem with that is usually the players come down from Celtic, then go up to go to Liverpool. I don't think they want him.
He's already done that though.
He's on the reverse course.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I do have one kind of question for you, since we just had Thanksgiving here, and like, Thanksgiving is really a time to be thankful, but I think for a lot of people, it's a time that you, like, my cousin, he plays, like, he's a professional musician. He played last night down in Mexico at where Cholos play. So he's playing this, like, sold out, football stadium of 35, 40,000 people, which is insane because, 2 nights before we were playing horse in the backyard. But he goes, basically it's I see my family 2 times a year, and it's kind of an important thing. So, I was thinking, like, with that, because we sit down and we eat and all this stuff. So if you could, like, basically choose one former player and one current player to kind of sit down with and just have, like, have over Thanksgiving, maybe you and you're bringing 2 players over to my house or somebody's house for Thanksgiving, who would you bring with you just for that one evening?
So probably from the current crop, maybe Hoiberg. I think as a player, he gives a lot, but he's also really intelligent. And I think he will, I think he'll have a career after he's played in the sport. Really good player. Former player. Difficult one. There's so many you can choose from because they've all left. You could pick. One of my favourite players as we were coming up through the leagues was Schneidlin. I still think he was silly to leave because it's not really gone well for him, and he's a bit out of favour now at Everton. Maybe him. If we could go way back, Franny Benali. I see him around in Southampton every now and then. He'll have a chat. So yeah, we'll get Franny round for dinner as well.
All right. Yeah, he seems like a genuinely nice guy, and somebody who really cares about the club.
Yeah, yeah, really down to earth guy. Really, really nice guy.
Yeah. Well, all right, man. That sounds good. I would enjoy that. And I would, even yesterday we were setting up Christmas lights and I kept finding excuses to go get some sort of ball and play something, anything to avoid the work. So I imagine if they were over, I don't know if I'd be embarrassed to get the ball out, or if I'd want to do it just to do it. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, man. Well, Dan, thank you for joining the show. I know it's maybe not always the easiest to talk about, especially after that disappointment like yesterday was, but it's the way it goes, I guess.
It is the way it goes. But yeah, it's a pleasure to come on.
Yeah, no, anytime, man. But anyway, all right, man. We'll travel safely, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you. Yeah, see you later.
And that does it for episode 98 of the Southampton Delivery Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed it. This week, I moved around the recording space that I use because I was supposed to have some acoustic paneling coming. It didn't come, so if it sounds like complete garbage on my end, I apologize. I know the P's were on and popping because my mic placement is off. If you didn't notice that until right now, don't go back and listen to the rest of the episode because you'll pick it up. And I will be annoyed because I'm already annoyed because I'm neurotic and I don't know if that's good or bad. Anyway, if you enjoyed the show this week, be sure to follow the Dan James. You can get more of him on Twitter and Instagram at the Dan James. The links are in the show notes for that. Follow along as he attends Saints matches and does all of that kind of stuff. You can also follow this show on social media. We're at SFCDELL_IVERY on both Twitter and Instagram. We're at Facebook at facebook.com/SFC Delivery. There is no underscore in the Facebook address. If you'd rather email the show, you can do that at southamptondelivery@gmail.com. And be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you are listening currently. However you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Acast, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, wherever it is, subscribe. And if you're liking the show, why not give it a rating? It doesn't take that long. I would appreciate it. That's it. That's all. If you don't want to, that's totally fine too. Share it with a friend. It's all help spreading the show is appreciated, and I think the wine is catching up, so let's speed this up now. We have partners that make the show possible. One of those is the Southampton page. If you do not follow the Southampton page on Twitter or Instagram, you should for all of your Southampton FC news and needs. The logo for the show is designed by Matt Beeling of the We Are Southampton page on Instagram. For all your matchday edits, polls, competitions, and more, be sure to check out the We Are Southampton page on Instagram. And Matt is going to be here for episode 100 in just a couple of weeks, and I am very, very excited about that. All music for the show comes courtesy of the Free Music Archive at freemusicarchive.org. The intro song is Epic Song by Boxcat Games, and the end of show credits that you're listening to right now is Aim is True by Poddington Bear. That does it for this week. Hopefully, if you are traveling to, whether it's just down to St. Mary's for the United match or you're traveling away to Leicester City on Tuesday night, safe travels. We look forward to having you back next time. And until then, remember that together, we march on.